Okay, hello again. This is the second recording. I've just done the first one up to the Vipassana Dipani, or the exposition of insight of this book here. The Manuals of Buddhism, Mahatera Ledi Sayadaw, Aga Mahapandita D. Lit. Okay, let's get started. Honor to the Buddha. The three Vipallasa. Vipallasa means hallucination, delusion, erroneous observation, or taking that which is true as being false and that which is false as true. There are three kinds of Vipallasa, to wit: 1. Sanya Vipallasa, hallucination of perception; 2. Chitta Vipallasa, hallucination of thought; 3. Ditthi Vipallasa, hallucination of views. Of these three, hallucination of perception is fourfold thus: 1. It erroneously perceives impermanence as permanence; 2. Impurity as purity; 3. Ill as good; and 4. No soul as soul. The same holds good with regard to the remaining two Vipallasa, i.e., those of thinking and viewing. All these classifications come under the category of "this is mine," "this is myself" or "living soul," and will be made clear later. The three Vipallasa may be illustrated respectively by the similes of the wild deer, the magician, and a man who has lost his way. This is the simile of the wild deer to illustrate the hallucination of perception. In the middle of a great forest, a certain husbandman cultivated a piece of paddy land. While the cultivator was away, wild deer were in the habit of coming to the field and eating the young spikes of growing grain. So the cultivator put some straw together into the shape of a man, and set it up in the middle of the field in order to frighten the deer away. He tied the straws together with fibres into the resemblance of a body, with head, hands, and legs, and with white lime painting on a pot the lineaments of a human face. He set it on the top of the body. He also covered the artificial man with some old clothes, such as a coat and so forth, and put a bow and arrow into his hand. Now the deer came as usual to eat the young paddy, but approaching it and catching sight of the artificial man, they took it for a real one, were frightened, and ran away. In this illustration, the wild deer had seen men before and retained in their memory the perception of the shape and form of men. In accordance with their present perception, they took the straw man for a real man. Thus their perception of it was an erroneous perception. The hallucination of perception is as here shown in this allegory of the wild deer. It is very clear and easy to understand. This particular hallucination is also illustrated in the case of a bewildered man who has lost his way and cannot make out the cardinal points east and west in the locality in which he is in. Although the rising and setting of the sun may be distinctly perceived by anyone with open eyes, If the error has once been made, it establishes itself very firmly, and is only with great difficulty to be removed. There are many things within ourselves which we are always apprehending erroneously, and in a sense the reverse of the truth as regards impermanence and no soul. Thus, through the hallucination of perception, we apprehend things erroneously in exactly the same way that the wild deer take the straw man to be a real man, even with their eyes wide open. Now, for the simile of the magician to illustrate the hallucination of thought. There is a pretended art called magic, by means of which, when the lumps of earth are exhibited in the presence of a crowd, all who look at them think they are lumps of gold and silver. The power of the magical art is such as to take from men their ordinary power of seeing, and in its place put an extraordinary kind of sight. It can thus for a time turn the mind upside down, so to speak. When persons are in command of themselves, they see lumps of earth as they are. But under the influence of this magical art, they see the lumps of earth as lumps of gold and silver with all their qualities of brightness, yellowness, whiteness, and so forth. Thus their beliefs, observations, or ideas become erroneous. In the same way, our thoughts and ideas are in the habit of wrongly taking false things as true, and thus we delude ourselves. For instance, at night we are often deceived into thinking we see a man when it is really the stump of a tree that we are looking at. Or on seeing a bush, we imagine we are looking at a wild elephant, or seeing a wild elephant take it to be a bush. In this world, all our mistaken ideas as to what comes within the field of our observation are due to the action of the hallucination of thought, which is deeper and more unfathomable than that of perception, since it deludes us by making false things seem true. However, as it is not so firmly rooted as the latter, it can easily be removed by investigation or by searching into the causes and conditions of things. Now, for the simile of the man who has lost his way to illustrate the hallucination of views. There was a large forest haunted by evil spirits, demons, who lived there building towns and villages. There came some travellers who were not acquainted with the roads through the forest. The demons created their towns and villages as splendidly as those of devas or celestial beings, and themselves assumed the forms of male and female devas. They also made the roads as pleasant and delightful as those of the devas. When the travellers saw these, they believed that these pleasant roads would lead them to large towns and villages, and so, turning aside from the right roads, they went astray, following the wrong and misleading ones, arriving at the towns of the demons and suffering accordingly. In this allegory, the large forest stands for the three worlds of Kama Loka, Rupa Loka, and Arupa Loka. The travellers are all those who inhabit these worlds. The right road is right views, and the misleading road is wrong views. The right views here spoken of are two kinds, namely, those that pertain to the world and those pertaining to enlightenment. Of these two, the former is meant to connote this right view. All beings are the owners of their deeds, and every deed, both moral and immoral, committed by oneself is one's own property and follows one throughout the whole long course of life, while the latter is meant to connote the knowledge of the doctrine of causal genesis of the aggregates of the ayatana basis and no soul. Of these two views, the former is as the right road to the round of existences. The worlds of the fortunate, i.e., the abodes of human beings, devas, and brahmas, are like the towns of good people. The erroneous views that deny moral and immoral deeds and their results or effects, and come under the names of Nakita Diti, Ahetukaditi, and Akiriyaditi, are like the wrong, misleading roads. The worlds of the unfortunate, which are the abodes of the tortured, of animals, petas, and asuras, are like the towns of the demons. The right view of knowledge, which is one of the factors of enlightenment, is like the right road that leads out of the round of existence. Nibbana is like the town of good people. The views, my body and my soul, are also like the wrong and misleading roads. The world comprising the abodes of human beings, devas, and brahmas, or the ceaseless renewing of existences, is like the towns of the demons. The aforesaid erroneous views are known as the hallucinations, such being deeper and more firmly established than that of thought. The three man, man, Mannana. Mannana means fantasy, egotistic estimation, high imagination, or feigning to oneself that one is what one is not. Through nescience, hallucination arises, and through hallucination, fantasy arises. Fantasy is of three kinds, to wit: 1. Tanha Mannana, fantasy by lust, desire of the senses. 2. Mana Mannana, fantasy by conceit. And Diti Mannana, fantasy by error in beliefs. Of these, fantasy by lust means the high imagination. This is mine, this is my own, in clinging to what in reality is not mine and my own. In strict truth, there is no I, and as there is no I, there can be no mine or my own. Though indeed it is the case that both personal and impersonal external objects are highly imagined and discriminated as this is mine and this is mine, that other thing is not mine, and this is my own, that other thing is not my own. Such a state of imagination and fanciful discrimination is called fantasy by lust. Personal objects here means one's own body and organs. Impersonal or external objects means one's own relations, such as father, mother, and so forth, and one's own possessions. Fantasy by conceit means the high imagination of personal objects expressed as I am, when it is supported or encouraged, so to speak, by personal attributes and impersonal objects, it becomes aggressively haughty and fantastically conceited. Here, personal attributes means vigor or plenitude of eyes, ears, hands, legs, virtue, intuition, knowledge, power, and so forth. Impersonal objects means plenitude of families, relations, surroundings, dwellings, possessions, and so forth. Fantasy by error means overestimation of personal objects as my framework, my principle, my pith, my substance, my soul, my quintessence. In the expression earthen pots and earthen bowls, it is understood that the earth is the substance of which these pots and bowls are made, and the very earth so made, so shaped, is again called pots and bowls. In the expression iron pots and iron bowls and so forth, it is also understood that iron is the substance from which iron pots and bowls are made, and the very iron so made, so shaped, is again called pots and bowls. In exactly the same way that in these instances earth and iron is the substance from which the vessels are made, so, assuming the element of extension, the earth element, which pertains to the personality or the substance of living beings of the I, this fanciful estimation of the facts of the case arises. The element of extension is the living being, the element of extension is the I. What is here said in connection with the element of extension is in like manner to be understood in connection with the element of cohesion, the liquid element, and all other elements found in our corporeal existence. This overestimation or fantastic imagination will be expounded at greater length further on. These three kinds of fantasy are also called the three gaha, or three holds, to indicate their power of holding tightly and firmly. Since also they multiply erroneous, mistaken actions which tend gradually but continuously to increase past all limits and never incline to cease, they are also called three pancha, or three multipliers. The two Abhinivesa. Abhinivesa means strong belief set in the mind as firmly and immovably as doorposts, stone pillars, and monuments, so that it cannot be moved by any means or expenditure of effort. It is of two different kinds two. It is of two different kinds, to wit, Dana Binivesa, firm belief induced by lust, and Diti Binivesa, firm belief induced by error. Tanha Binivesa means the firm and unshakable belief in what is not my own body, head, hands, legs, eyes, and so forth, as being my own body, my own head, and so forth, throughout a long succession of existences. Diti Binivesa means the firm and unshakable belief in the existence of the soul, or self, or separate life in a person or creature, which is held in accordance with this belief to be an unchanging supreme thing that governs the body. These two kinds of belief are also called Tanha Nisaya and Titi Nisaya respectively. They may also be called the two great reposers upon the five aggregates and on body and mind. or as the two great resting places of Putu Janas, or ordinary men of the world. Right, I think I'll stop there. That's 20 minutes. I'm sure that's enough for now. Very good. Okay. Hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully my reading's good enough to keep the attention and listen to and learn. So yeah, um, I'm glad I've started this book. I'm sure I'll learn a lot. Hopefully I get right through it, and hopefully whoever's watching will learn a few things about the Buddhism, which is very beneficial. Cool. All right. Yeah. Just give me a shout if you want to chat or whatever. Okay.